And then we had tech prep. Fed said it didn't work. Now we have programs of study, career pathways. Guess what? Data aren't really all that robust. So, I call this the Ghostbuster solution. Bye. A system. The thing that we keep missing. Years ago, when I really worked for a living, I did a lot of consulting in industry and did a lot of stuff with nonprofits and building systems. You've got to start by looking at the system. You can't just go and say, okay, I'm going to make that teacher better. You can't just go and say, I'm going to add a program here. You really have to. Am I on?
No, it's just your mic. No, it fell.
My mic fell. My mic fell. Sorry. I get excited. Sit. Sorry for that noise and sound. I'm off. I'm on. I'm off. I'm on. How about this? Okay. All right. System. So, think about multiple ways of winning, multiple pathways. If we've learned nothing else over the last 30 years, is there's more than one way to win. A colleague of mine, Ken Gray at Penn State, used that term a lot. More than one way to win. A really competent plumber will have a good income, a good life, and a good middle-class existence. He or she doesn't have to go to Harvard, University of New Mexico to become a really good plumber, right? And by the way, that's one of the decreasing number of occupations that technology isn't going to, at least anytime soon, replace the need for human interaction, human diagnostics, and so forth. So, vertical integration, secondary, post-secondary, business and industry, and robust career development. You all know what the special needs groups are, special populations. I won't belabor that. Can't ignore them in this, but there's a place for everybody in this system. It's a system. It isn't a program, not just a program. You really have to start with an audit. Map what's going on, figure out where you're going, and then where do we fit the pieces to be consistent, right? So both the secondary programs as well as the post-secondary programs need to be in alignment with where the state's going or the region is going. Now, New Mexico has some very unique, distinct regions. So I would argue regional. So there is a 5-year strategic plan, but within that, I think this is the northern region, if I remember correctly. Here are 4 clusters of occupations that are targeted for growth. Are the programs, is the system in that region aligned with this? Are we all on the same page? Or is a high school doing this, the 2-year college doing this, and economic development, workforce development, investments doing this? If we continue that, we'll continue to not provide a viable future for our young people. These things are out there. Every state has it. Every region has it. By the way, I don't know if you're familiar with SET. Raise your hand. Okay, a few of you. New Mexico is a pilot for this. It's a way of engaging community and so forth. By the way, not just the for-profit sector. Don't ignore the not-for-profit. Some really good career opportunities there. So you need a good career development framework. The state of South Carolina put something together several years ago, which I think is remarkable at one level. One is South Carolina did it, and 2, they put money behind it. But here's the idea. Beginning in elementary school, you can't wait to high school, and God forbid you can't wait till later. Elementary school, they begin, and this is one I developed for a health career pathway thing. So introduction, bring doctors, nurses, med techs in, talk to the little munchkins, the rugrats, about what they do. Most kids have seen a doctor or a nurse, so they understand that. But they don't understand necessarily what they do, how they got there. By the time they're in middle school, they begin to develop an individualized learning plan, individualized graduation plan. What we've always done for special needs kids, we should be doing for all kids. The best ones I've seen are rolling 5-year plans. 7th grade, they plan for 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. Want to be a doctor? What do I have to do to get there? a plan, parent, counselor, kid. In 8th grade, they update it for 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, first year after high school. 10th grade, they update it 2 years after high school. 11th grade, they update it 3 years after high school, and so forth. It's a rolling plan because guess what? As kids get into this, learn more about it, they go, ew, blood. I don't want to do that. So they change. Now, a lot of compelling arguments for good, robust career development. How many ever watch CSI? This is what you learn watching CSI. First of all female CSIs can double as supermodels. First lesson. You can kill someone with almost anything. Second lesson. You know, how to figure out where blood's flowing. When CSI first hit the TV in the early aughts, the spike in 2-year college enrollments just went off the page. And yet we only need a few, relatively speaking, but community colleges are not driven by labor market needs, they're driven by consumer demand in most cases. They kept adding programs. That's not true here in New Mexico, I realize. Everywhere else, but here. Now, the other thing about this is, you may not know this, I can only tell this story when I'm outside Kentucky. They were going to do a CSI in Kentucky, the eastern part of the state, you know, and they decided they wouldn't. You know why? Not enough genetic variation. Oh, that's going to get home. I can't go home now. The only question at the divorce is, we still cousins? It's just too easy. So here's another thing we know, is that your intended career path is the blue line, where you wind up is the red line, and yellow is the statistical representation of why you drink. Okay, so imagine this. Imagine that little Jimmy comes into 8th grade, and he's got his plan, okay? And he walks into his English teacher, his social studies teacher, his science teacher, his math teacher, and says, you know what? Can you modify, can you adapt your assignments to allow me to continue to probe more deeply? I've got to write a library research paper. Why not a library research paper on what does it take to be a doctor? Right? Instead of what I did last summer. In fact, this is called distributed guidance. I stole this from Aaron Flaxman at Teachers College a long time ago. So, let's take healthcare. English language arts. Can you spell Ebola? This is a research paper. You don't change the curriculum, you change the assignment. So this kid can continue to probe and do more in the area of career development through English class. In science, how do they get rid of medical waste? It's toxic. It takes a special disposal process. That could be a science kind of paper or activity. Social studies. Everything we know about brain trauma has come from the last 10 or 15 years with IEDs. Unfortunately, most of what we know about brain trauma has come from the last 10 or 15 years. The point is that war advances science and medicine in ways that it doesn't advance in normal peacetime. That's perhaps the only thing you can point to that's a benefit of war. Math. I love this one. We did this in Oakland, California. Compute the number of calories in the school lunch, and then figure out how long you got to walk to get rid of it. A can of Coke, by the way, is about an hour and a half, more or less, at a fast pace. Point is that every teacher has a role in the school in terms of career development. It's not just something that overworked and increasingly fewer of counselors do. Every teacher has a role to play. Okay. Eric mentioned, who did I take this from? Okay, I want to make sure. By the way, circle all fives. It's no child left behind. 5 is the right answer. Credential pathway. Eric mentioned the pathway thing. I would add the piece that the Department of Labor is arguing for. Credentials, not just any credentials, but stackable credentials. This credential feeds into this credential, feeds into this credential. So, stackable, back to McKinsey. They have to be portable, at least within the region, if not the state, and hopefully nationally. They have to signal value. It's back to this problem that the